The decision came fast and hard. In the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, the ancient building where all major choices about the galaxy were made, the vote took only minutes. Earth was finished. Humanity was done. The Council declared Earth exiled from all trade routes, all alliances, and all protection treaties. It was final. Joshua Morgan, Earth's top ambassador, sat in the viewing gallery and watched it happen. He did not move. He did not speak. His hands stayed still on the table in front of him. Around him, other delegates from different species looked away. Nobody wanted to be seen watching Earth's fall. Nobody wanted to risk being connected to a dying world. Councillor Vexter, the tall Quilthian with glowing skin, announced the verdict. His voice was cold and clear. The words echoed through the chamber. Earth had built defense robots without Council approval. Earth had made weapons it was not allowed to make. Earth had broken the sacred accord, the basic law that all species agreed to follow. The punishment was exile, complete isolation. No trade, no communication help, no nothing. Joshua heard the words. He understood them perfectly, but part of him could not believe it was real. 300 years. That was how long humanity had trusted the Council. 300 years of following the rules, paying the taxes, accepting the Council's leadership. 300 years of believing the Council would protect them. And now it was gone in one vote. The flight home to Earth took 4 days. Joshua sat alone in the ship. He did not watch the stars. He did not work. He just sat and thought about what he had to tell his people. President Victoria Hayes was waiting when he landed. She stood in the underground control room beneath the Rocky Mountains, where Earth's government sat hidden from the world. Around her were military leaders, science directors, and economic experts. They all looked at Joshua's face before he said anything. They voted yes, Joshua said. His voice was empty. Victoria closed her eyes for a moment. Then she opened them again. When does it start? Immediately. All food shipments are stopped. All medicine deliveries are canceled. All technology sharing ends now. We have maybe 2 years before big problems come. After that, people will start dying. General David Park, the man who had suggested building the defense robots in the first place, straightened in his chair. How long until they send military ships? They didn't say. They will probably wait to see if we break first. If we beg for forgiveness, the Council can make this look like justice. If we fight, they can claim they were right to exile us. Either way, the Council wins. Victoria stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the Colorado Mountains rose up against the sky. On the other side of those mountains were billions of people. Children, old people, sick people, farmers and builders and teachers. All of them were about to face the hardest test humanity had ever known. And there was no Council to help them now. How long do we have before the first supply ship should have arrived? Victoria asked. 3 days, answered Robert Lincoln, the chief science officer. Victoria turned around and looked at her team. We have 3 days to decide what we are going to do. We can accept the exile and try to survive on what we have. We can beg the Council for mercy. Or we can do something else. General Park leaned forward. What else is there? We stop asking the Council for help. We stop waiting for permission. We become what they are afraid we already are. Nobody said anything for a long time. You mean we build our own technology? Said Marcus Sullivan, the head of military research. It was not a question. I mean, we do everything ourselves, Victoria said. We make our own power systems. We grow our own food. We build our own ships. We create our own defense systems. And we do it better than the Council ever could. Robert Lincoln shook his head. That is impossible. The Council has 10,000 years of technology advantage. We cannot catch up in 2 years. We cannot catch up in 20 years. Probably not, Victoria said. But we do not need to catch up. We only need to survive. And I think humans are better at survival than the Council understands. That night, the orders went out to every research facility on Earth. Stop all regular work. Drop everything. Focus on 3 things only. First, build a communication system that does not need the Council's networks. Second, make food production systems that work anywhere, in any condition. Third, create weapons and defense systems that keep Earth safe. The scientists and engineers looked at the orders and understood what had really happened. The Council had cut off Earth's supplies. The Council had declared Earth an enemy. The game was over now. The real work was about to begin. Elena Rodriguez worked in a lab buried under Vancouver, Canada. She was a quantum physicist, which meant she understood the deep rules of how energy and matter worked. When the new orders came down, she read them 3 times. They want us to build a communication system that works faster than the Council system, she told her team. One of her engineers, a young man named Kevin Park, laughed. That is impossible. The Council has the fastest system that exists. It is based on technology that took them 5,000 years to develop. Elena did not laugh. Then we will develop something different. Something they did not think of. She pulled up old papers from physicists who had studied quantum mechanics 100 years before. The Council said these theories were wrong. The Council said they would never work. The Council said they were a waste of time. Elena and her team started building a prototype. They worked for 12 hours a day, every day. Other teams across Earth were doing the same thing in different fields. Biologists were creating new plants that could grow in extreme conditions. Engineers were building power systems from scratch. Soldiers were designing weapons using old human designs mixed with new ideas. Within 3 weeks, Elena's team had a working prototype. They tested it, and the numbers came back impossible. The device had transmitted information from Earth to Mars. The distance was 200 million kilometers. The transmission took 0.003 seconds. The Council system could not do that. The Council system did not exist that could do that. Elena looked at her team. They looked at the results. Nobody said anything for a long minute. We did it, Kevin finally said. We did it, Elena agreed. On the same day, across the planet, other breakthroughs were happening. A biology team in Brazil successfully grew wheat in salt water. An engineering team in Japan built a power generator that was 30% more efficient than anything the Council used. A military design team in Texas created a ship engine that worked on a completely different principle than anything in galactic databases. Earth was not falling apart. Earth was waking up. The Council had expected Earth to collapse in 5 years. The Council had expected human civilization to fall apart without trade and support. The Council had been very wrong before, and they were about to be very wrong again. General Park stood in the military command center and watched the reports coming in from around the world. Every time he saw a new breakthrough, his confidence grew a little stronger. Humanity had always been good at one thing. Humans were good at pushing forward when everything was against them. Humans were good at refusing to accept that something was impossible. The Council had forgotten that. The Council was about to learn it again. The first year of exile was chaos and order mixed together. On the surface, Earth looked like it was dying. Supply ships did not arrive. Trade stopped completely. Prices for imported goods went up and up and up. People got scared. There were riots in 3 major cities. The government had to send soldiers to keep peace. But underneath the chaos, something very different was happening. The isolation was forcing humanity to think different. When you cannot buy something from outside, you must build it yourself. When you cannot import workers, you must train your own people. When you cannot wait for the council to approve something, you just do it. Marcus Sullivan ran the military research division from a facility hidden in the mountains of Colorado. He reported directly to General Park. Every week, his team broke some kind of record. The power systems problem was critical. The council had supplied most of Earth's power for 100 years. Without that supply, humanity had to create its own. Marcus gathered the best engineers and gave them one goal: build something that works better than what the council made. His team took old human technology and mixed it with ideas from the Exiled years. They created power stations that captured solar energy at 97% efficiency. Before, the council system could only capture 78%. The new system was better. It was not just good enough. It was superior. When the engineers tested the first station near the equator in Africa, the results made them stop and stare. "This works," said Captain Jennifer Hall, the engineer in charge. "This really works. And it produces 40% more power than we calculated." Marcus took the data to General Park. "We are not just surviving," he told the general. "We are improving." Across the world, similar victories were happening. Dr. Yuki Tanaka was an agricultural scientist who had worked on food problems her entire career. When the exile came, the council cut off food shipments that fed 2 billion people on Earth. The government had 2 years of stored food. After that, hunger would kill millions. Yuki had decided to solve it completely. She took her team to the research stations near Earth's poles. The soil there was almost completely frozen. The temperatures were extreme. Nothing good grew there naturally. But Yuki's team began to engineer new plants. They started with wheat. They added genes from desert plants that could survive with little water. They added genes from extreme bacteria that could live in frozen ground. They created something completely new. The new wheat could grow in frozen soil. It could produce food in places that were never considered farmable before. "Test it in the real soil," Yuki ordered. The team planted seeds in actual Arctic ground in northern Canada. 3 weeks later, shoots appeared. 2 months later, they had grain. The yield was not huge, but it worked. Life could grow where it had not grown before. Yuk. I brought this result to President Hayes. "We can feed Earth," she said simply. "Not like we did before. It will be harder. It will require more effort. But we can do it." Victoria Hayes received this news while standing in the command center. She listened to reports all day. Elena Rodriguez and her quantum communication system was 98% complete. Marcus Sullivan reported that power production was exceeding all predictions. Yuki Tanaka showed that food could be grown in almost any condition. The military had designed 5 new ship types that were faster than anything the council used. The list went on and on. By the middle of the 2nd year of exile, something remarkable was visible. Earth was not struggling. Earth was rising. The news began to spread through space. Traders from other species started talking. The humans, they said, were doing something strange. The humans were not falling apart. The humans were building things that should not be possible. The humans were actually getting stronger. Word reached other worlds that felt trapped by the council's control. The Zelthians were traders who had been pushed out of business by council monopolies. They looked at what humanity was doing and saw opportunity. The mining colonies in the outer systems had been exploited by the council for generations. They saw what was happening on Earth and started to hope for change. The smaller species that had been kept weak by council policy started to pay attention to the humans. Joshua Morgan, who had returned from the council chambers, was given a new job by Victoria. He would secretly reach out to other species. He would talk about what Earth was building. He would see if anyone wanted to work with humanity instead of the council. His first meetings were dangerous. The council had declared Earth a pariah. Any species caught trading with Earth could face punishment. But Joshua found that the fear of punishment was less strong than the hope of freedom. The first species to openly trade with Earth was the Zelthians. A trader named Kethaner brought a small ship to Earth orbit. He wanted to see the human technology for himself. When he saw the new power systems and communication devices, he immediately wanted to buy them. He wanted to sell them to others. He wanted to distribute them across independent space. General Park was there when Kethaner made his offer. I will pay 500,000 credits for full technology access to your power system. I will take it to my people, and we will build it ourselves. Your people and my people will become partners. Park looked at the Zelthian. Then he looked at his general officers. Then he looked back at Kethaner. We have a deal, he said. This was the turning point. The first real trade with the galaxy outside Council control had begun. Joshua Morgan reached out to more species. Many were interested. Some were afraid. But slowly, a network started to form. It was made of Earth and other species and worlds that wanted to build something different. By the end of the second year, Earth's transformation was unstoppable. The isolation had not broken humanity. It had changed them. It had forced them to become stronger. It had shown them that they did not need the Council's permission to do great things. They just needed the will to try. The Council received reports about what was happening. Councillor Vestor called for emergency meetings. The calculations showed something that made the Council very uncomfortable. Earth was not just surviving. Earth was becoming powerful. Earth had resources now. Earth had technology now. Earth had allies now. The Council realized it had made a serious mistake. But it was already too late to undo. The engine of human innovation had been started, and nothing was going to stop it now. In the research facilities and military bases across Earth, people worked with a purpose they had never felt before. They were not working for the Council anymore. They were not trying to please alien masters. They were working for Earth. They were working for humanity. They were working to prove that a young species, pushed to the wall, could become something extraordinary. And they were winning. 3 years into the exile, Earth had become something the Council did not expect. The isolation had not just made humans survive. It had made them strong. It had made them united. Every person on Earth understood what was happening. Every person knew they were part of something important. The first human military fleet left Earth orbit on day 1000 of the exile. The lead ship was called the Defiant. It was built entirely with human technology. Its weapons had been designed by humans. Its engines worked on principles humans had created. Its crew was trained by humans who had learned military science the hard way, through necessity. Commander Catherine Wells stood on the bridge of the Defiant and watched Earth grow smaller behind her. She was 34 years old. She had been a pilot for the Council military before the exile. The Council had told her that humans could never build ships as good as Council ships. She was now commanding a ship to prove them wrong. Navigation, she said to her navigation officer. Set course for the independent trade routes. Slowly. Let other species see us. The message Earth was sending was clear. We are here. We are real. We are strong. And we are open for business. Other ships joined the Defiant over the next months. The Resistance, the Phoenix, the Humanity, and 10 more battle cruisers. Behind them came trade ships. Behind those came exploration vessels. The human presence in space was growing. The trade that started in secret during year 2 became open in year 3. The Zelthians were not the only species interested in working with humans. The Insectoid Hive Collective wanted the quantum communication systems. The Outer System miners needed the efficient power generators. Species that had been kept weak by the Council suddenly had access to technology that made them strong. Elena Rodriguez's communication system was copied. and installed on 50 ships in the first 3 months. Every independent trader who bought the system became a customer who wanted more. They wanted the power systems next. Then they wanted the advanced agricultural technology. Then they wanted partnerships with human scientists on research projects. President Victoria Hayes approved a new policy. Share the technology. Teach the other species how to build it themselves. Work together instead of trying to control everything. This was different from the Council's way. The Council hoarded technology. The Council kept other species weak, so they had to depend on the Council. Humans did the opposite. They made other species stronger, which meant those species became partners instead of servants. The Council noticed all of this. Councillor Vexter noticed it very much. An emergency meeting was called in the Grand Chamber. This was a problem. This was a serious problem. Earth is not isolated, reported Council Intelligence Officer Zethalor. Earth has formed an alliance with at least 30 independent species. Human technology is spreading through independent space. Council markets are losing customers. Independent traders are now more successful than Council traders. And Earth has built a military force that is smaller than the Council's, but growing rapidly. Vexter listened to all of this information and made a decision. We will send a message to Earth. Tell them to stop this activity or face military action. The message arrived at Earth through space channels 3 days later. President Hayes read it and actually laughed out loud. Victoria called a meeting with her military commanders. The Council is scared, she told them. Scared is good. Scared means we are winning. They want us to stop spreading technology and making allies. This tells me that our strategy is working perfectly. General Park nodded. What do? We ignore them. We keep doing exactly what we are doing. We improve our technology. We strengthen our alliances. We show every independent species in the galaxy that there is another way. A way that does not require the Council. A way that is built on respect instead of fear. The Council was not used to being ignored. They sent another message. Then another. Then they threatened military action. But taking military action would be risky. They could not attack Earth without looking like tyrants. They could not attack the independent traders without looking like bullies. The Council's power was based on the appearance of legitimacy. Military action would destroy that dot, so the Council did nothing except watch as their power decreased. Meanwhile, on Earth, Catherine Wells and her fleet were actively patrolling the independent trade routes. The Council space was watched by Council ships. Independent space was watched by human ships. And what the human ships did was protect trade. They stopped pirates. They prevented conflicts. They made independent space safer than Council space. A small Zeltian trader ship reported being attacked by Council pirates. Catherine received the report and immediately dispatched 2 defense ships. They arrived and destroyed the Council pirate vessel. The message was clear. Attack anyone carrying human-endorsed cargo, and you will face the Defiance Fleet. Word spread. Council pirates stopped attacking independent traders. Council military ships became more careful about confronting human vessels. The balance of power was shifting. Scientists from dozens of species started coming to Earth to work in the research facilities. They came because Earth was where the innovation was happening. They came because humans treated other species as equals, not subjects. They came because they could contribute their own knowledge and see it, built into something greater. Elena Rodriguez found herself working with Zelthian quantum theorists, Hive Collective engineers, and 3 other alien species on the next generation communication system. It was faster than the first one. It was more reliable. It was something none of them could have built alone. This is what I wanted to show the Council, Elena told her team. When different species work together, when we stop competing and start cooperating, we create things that change the galaxy. The Council watched this too and realized they had made a catastrophic error. By exiling Earth, they had freed humanity from the constraints that had held them back. Humanity had always been the species with the most potential. The Council had simply never let humans reach that potential. Now, without the Council's restrictions, humans were reaching it rapidly. 3 years into the exile, Earth's trade network was officially larger than the Council's independent trade network. More ships were being built in human yards than in Council yards. More research breakthroughs were coming from Earth laboratories than from Council laboratories. More species wanted to work with humans than wanted to work with the Council. President Victoria Hayes sat in the command center with her advisors and looked at the galaxy map. The red zones represented Council space. The blue zones represented human-allied space. 3 years ago, red dominated the map. Now blue was growing every day. The Council made one choice, Victoria told her team. They tried to stop us. Instead, they freed us. And now, we are going to change the galaxy. General Park smiled. Catherine Wall smiled. Elena Rodriguez, working late in her laboratory, smiled when she heard the report. The exile was not punishment anymore. The exile was victory. And the best part was that humanity was still just getting started. 4 years into the exile, the galaxy had split. The Council still controlled roughly 40% of known space through military force and economic pressure. The independent coalition that had formed around humanity controlled 25%. The rest was neutral or contested. But the numbers were changing every month. General David Park stood in the military command center on Mars and watched tactical displays. The Council had 47 military ships in their frontline forces. Humanity had built and deployed 31 ships. But more ships were under construction. In a year, humanity would have equal numbers. In 2 years, humanity would have more. They cannot fight us, said Commander Patricia Morgan, Park's second officer. If they attack, they will lose ships and soldiers. The Council has never experienced real losses. They have never fought a war they might lose. Park nodded. That is why they will not attack. Not yet, anyway. They are waiting to see if we break. They think we will exhaust ourselves. They think we will get tired and ask for mercy. Will we? Patricia asked. No, Park said simply. We will not get tired. We have something the Council does not have. We have purpose. Back on Earth, Victoria Hayes was preparing for what she knew was coming. Not military attack. Something else. The Council would try to negotiate. They would try to make a deal. And Victoria needed to decide what kind of deal Earth would accept. She met with the leaders of the independent coalition. The Zelthians sent their lead trader, Kethana. The Hive Collective sent their council representative, a large insectoid being with multiple limbs and compound eyes. The Outer System miners sent 3 representatives who negotiated for planets that have been exploited for generations. The Council will contact us, Victoria told them. They will offer to end the exile. They will offer to restore trade. They will offer a seat at the Council table for humanity. And we must decide what we will accept. Kethner leaned forward. What do you propose? I propose we do not negotiate from weakness. We negotiate from strength. Earth does not rejoin the Council as a junior member. Earth becomes a Council equal with full voting rights. The independent coalition gets official representation. The Council reforms itself, or we build a new system that replaces it. The Outer System miners looked at each other. One of them spoke. If we push too hard, the Council might attack. Even if they lose military battles, the damage could be severe. True, Victoria agreed. Which is why we are not pushing. We are simply becoming stronger while they watch. When the time comes to negotiate, they will come to us. because they will have no choice. And they will accept our terms because accepting them is better than the alternative. Elena Rodriguez continued her work on the next generation of technology. The quantum communication system had been successful beyond prediction. Now her team was working on something even more advanced, a way to manipulate gravity itself. The Council had this technology, but it was limited. Alana's team had found a way to make it work better, faster, and with less power consumption. "This is impossible," said Kethner, when Elena showed him the test results. "The Council cannot do this." Even the Council scientists said this was impossible. "The Council scientists were wrong," Elena replied. "The Council believed their own limitations. They stopped trying. We did not." The breakthrough in gravity manipulation came in month 42 of the Exile. This was technology that could change everything. Ships could be faster. Defenses could be stronger. The balance of power would shift dramatically if humans had this. And the Council did not. Victoria Hayes received the news and immediately understood its importance. She called a restricted meeting with her military and science leaders. "We keep this quiet," she ordered. "We do not tell the coalition. We do not advertise it. We build a ship that uses this technology, and we keep it hidden. When the Council realizes they do not understand what we have done, that is when we will show them. That is when they will understand we cannot be beaten." The ship, called the Horizon, was built in a secret facility on the dark side of the moon. It took 6 months to complete. When it made its first test flight, it traveled faster than anything that had existed before. It was not just better than Council ships. It was better than anything in the galaxy. Catherine Wells requested command of the Horizon, and General Park approved it. She trained a crew of 100 of Earth's best pilots and officers. The Horizon was a ship that could change wars. It was the reason the Council would eventually have to accept whatever terms humanity offered. The Council tried multiple approaches to slow humanity's growth. They blocked some trade routes. This failed because humans had learned to trade through other routes. They reduced the price of Council technology to undercut human prices. This failed because human technology was better, and species preferred better technology even if it cost more. They tried to recruit human scientists with offers of wealth and position. This failed because most human scientists now believed in what humanity was building. By month 45 of the Exile, the Council understood they had lost control of the situation. Their intelligence reports showed that humanity was not just surviving. Humanity was thriving. Human technology was spreading. Human alliances were growing. The Council's authority was shrinking. Vexter, the old counselor who had voted to exile Earth, was replaced by new leadership. The new Council members were younger and more practical. They did not have pride in the old way. They understood that change was happening, and they could either adapt or be replaced by something better. The Council sent an official communication to Earth. They requested negotiations for reconciliation. They offered to lift the trade embargo. They offered to restore technological sharing. They offered Earth a permanent seat on the Council. Victoria Hayes received this message and smiled. This was exactly what she had predicted. The Council was asking to be saved from irrelevance. She called Joshua Morgan back to active duty. He had been waiting for this moment. "You will go back to the Grand Chamber," she told him. "But this time, you do not go as a supplicant. You go as a representative of a power that the Council must respect. You will tell them that Earth will rejoin the Council, but only on new terms. Tell them the old order is dead. Tell them we are building something better." Joshua left for the Council chambers with the human proposal. For the first time, he walked there as an equal, not as someone asking for permission. For the first time, he walked there representing a species that the Council actually had to negotiate with. The galaxy was about to change. Joshua Morgan stood in the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council for the second time in 5 years. But everything was different now. 5 years ago, he had come as a representative of a protected species seeking approval. Now, he came as a representative of a power that could not be ignored. The chamber itself had been modified. The old council seats that had always been arranged in a way that showed council dominance had been changed. New seats had been added for independent species. The symbol of the council, which had stood for 10,000 years, had been moved. In its place was a new symbol. It showed many different species working together as equals. Victoria Hayes stood beside Joshua. She did not ask for permission to be there. She simply came. Around them, representatives from 30 different species gathered in the chamber. These were the members of the Independent Coalition. These were the species that had chosen to stand with humanity. The new council leader, a younger Quilthian named Jethala, stood up to speak. "We have asked humanity to return to the council. We have offered concessions. We have offered technology sharing and trade restoration. What are Earth's conditions?" Joshua stepped forward. His voice was clear and strong. "Earth will rejoin the council, but not under the old system. The old system is broken. It serves the council and ignores everyone else. We propose a new system." He pulled up a document and displayed it on the chamber walls where all species could see it. It was the new charter that Victoria Hayes and her team had written. "Under the new system," Joshua continued, "no species is protected while others are left behind. All species have equal trading rights. All species can develop their own technology without council approval. All species gets representation on the decision-making council. Most importantly, no species can be exiled from the galactic community without a vote from all members, not just the council leadership." Vexter, the old counselor, stood up to speak. "Earth cannot dictate terms to the council. Earth is young. Earth is inexperienced. Earth does not understand galactic law." Victoria stepped forward. "Earth understands one thing perfectly," she said. "We understand what happens when a species is pushed to the wall. We understand what humans can do when we have nothing to lose. The council chose to find out. They exile us. They expected us to break. Instead, we became stronger. The council now has a choice. Accept the new system or watch as the old system crumbles around them." She pressed a button, and the horizon appeared on every view screen in the chamber. The ship moved through space with a speed that made the council representatives sit back in shock. It performed maneuvers that seemed physically impossible. It demonstrated the gravity manipulation technology that humanity had developed. It showed a level of technological advancement that the council had not achieved in thousands of years. "We do not show you this to threaten," Victoria said. "We show you this to explain what has already happened. Humanity is not a young species anymore. We are a species in our prime. And the question the council must answer is whether they want to work with us or whether they want to become irrelevant." The vote took 3 days. The council chambers filled with discussions and arguments. The old council members tried to hold on to the old system. The younger ones understood that the old system was already dead. The independent species delegations pushed for the new system. Some were afraid. Some were excited. All of them understood that this was a turning point in galactic history. By the end of the 3rd day, the vote was clear. 73% of species voted to accept the new charter. The old council was officially dissolved. The new unified governing system was established. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. Humanity had not become its ruler. Humanity had simply forced the galaxy to become fair. Joshua Morgan signed the documents that made it official. His hand did not shake. Victoria Hayes stood beside him and watched the moment happen. 300 years of human dependence on the council had ended. 300 years of the Council's absolute authority had ended, and 200 years of human potential, finally unleashed, had begun. Back on Earth, the news spread instantly. In research laboratories, scientists celebrated. In military bases, soldiers understood that the war was truly over. In cities around the world, people looked at the stars and realized that their future was no longer limited by Council rules. The stars were open to them now. The galaxy was open to them. Elena Rodriguez was working when she heard. She was still in her laboratory, designing the next generation of communication systems. She did not even celebrate. She simply turned back to her work. There was so much more to build. There were other species waiting to learn what humans had discovered. There were new technologies waiting to be created. The work was only beginning. General David Park stood in the military command center and watched the final council vote tally appear on every screen. His face showed no emotion, but inside, he felt something that had been building for 5 years finally release. The council had tried to break humanity. The council had tried to teach humans a lesson about respecting authority. Instead, the council had taught humans a lesson about their own strength. Catherine Wells commanded the Horizon from its bridge. The ship did a slow orbit around Earth, visible from the surface. People on the ground looked up and watched their species' future pass overhead. The Horizon was not a weapon of conquest. It was a symbol of possibility. It was proof that humanity could build anything, could achieve anything, could become anything they chose to become. President Victoria Hayes stood in the same command center where she had made her decision 5 years earlier. The same window looked out over the Rocky Mountains. But everything had changed. The exile was over. But humanity's rise was only just starting. She thought about all the people who had made this possible. The scientists in their laboratories, the soldiers in their bases, the farmers growing new food, the engineers building ships, the traders connecting with other species. All of them had chosen to believe that humanity could do something extraordinary. The Council had wanted to teach humanity a lesson. They had succeeded. But the lesson was not what they intended. The lesson was that humans do not shrink when challenged. Humans grow. Humans reach. Humans refuse to accept the limits that others place on them. 5 years of exile had changed everything. The young species that the Council had barely tolerated had become a power that the galaxy would have to reckon with. And more than that, humanity had shown other species that another way was possible. A way based on respect instead of fear. A way based on cooperation instead of control. A way that lifted all species up instead of keeping them down. The stars were waiting. The galaxy was waiting. And humanity was finally ready to answer that call.